Good morning and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup Monday morning. I'm Neeraj Shah and it's a packed day of action, if you will, simply because the news flow is huge. It's large. It's tremendous. The world markets may not be doing well, by the way. Euro stocks 50 futures have slid more than 2% amidst thin volumes. Asian stocks are set for a tepid start. Oil has inched higher in early Asian trading on news that OPEC Plus may consider cutting output. And in global news, Tesla may actually react a little bit as well because it delivered record number of cars, but it missed estimates. And therefore, in the Asian screen, Tesla suppliers as well might be in focus. So net, the global news flow, not the strongest. The local news flow, not too bad. So GST collections in the month of September at 1.47 lakh crores. This is the seventh straight month of over 1.4 lakh collections. PM Modi has launched 5G services. Jio has said that they will roll out the 5G starting December 2023. Others have also put in their words. Sunil Bharti Mittal, Kumar Mangalam Birla, all of them have spoken about their guidelines, but the strongest seem to be Jio saying that starting December 2023, in all of Pan India, Jio's 5G services will be rolled out. Now, that was something on Saturday. Air India is said to be raising about $1 billion for expansion. So lots of macro news flow around India, which is interesting. But what about markets? So US markets had a tough day on Friday, as you can see. While Europe did okay, US did not, and there was a problem there. I think which is what is weighing on Asia as well. Uh, the other cues, and they should come up on your screen next. Dollar index has the dollar behavior has been good, which is a bit of a relief. It's not kind of gone up again. Was at one near 114, came off, and now it's sub 112 or thereabouts, which is good. The 10-year yield hovering at about 3.75, 3.8 mark. CBOE VIX hovering at about 31, 32 mark. India VIX kind of around those levels as well, the levels that it was there in Friday's session. And the SGX Nifty indicated a start in the red the last time I saw, about 0.8%. Yeah, so about that 17,000 mark is where we are likely to start off with. Now, keep in mind, uh, this is usually October is seasonally a strong month, and this is usually a period wherein the world markets typically tend to have a good month. So it's very rare that we've seen the world markets having a bit of a green, a bit of a red in the October to December quarter. Look at this chart. It shows how the MSCI All Country World Index in 4Q has a positive quarter three times, only three times in the last 20 years or thereabouts is when this has been negative. So can stocks avoid that rare Q4 loss, or will we have a loss? That's the key question that most people must be wondering. But remember, this is I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a gauge of what could happen to equities by and large around the world. Usually this is what happens. Now, India may be an outlier. India has done well, so maybe India could succumb, or maybe India could play part with the rest of the world because India is arguably one of the strongest markets in the world currently, and therefore it could even do well. So let's wait and watch. The trade setup, therefore, domestic news flow, as I said, is positive, and which should aid sentiment in a seasonally strong month because October is a seasonally strong month for India as well. The Dow could, if the Dow continues to slide lower, I was reading in this piece, I think from CK Narayan, that Dow could hit the support zone of 28,500 to 28,200, and that rally could actually aid the rally back home as well. So we need the Dow. If the Dow hits the support zone and rallies from there, that could actually aid what is anyways sounding like a seasonally strong month for India and positive news flow in India. I think in today's session, autos will hold center stage, and CGD companies may not be completely out of the woods as yet. So autos, banks, and oil and gas. These are the three spaces that I think collectively everybody should be watching out for. I'm missing out on NTPC, Coal India. I know a lot of news flow today, as I said, but let's make sense of all the news flow that is there and some seasonal factors as well for in the stocks to watch segment. So first, in the last 9 times out of 10, these five names have had a positive October month. Adani Ent, ICICI Bank, Muthoot Finance, Ramco Cements, Petronet LNG. 9 out of 10 times they have a strong October month. Can this time be different? Let's see. The other aspect about their move is that they have outperformed the Nifty more than 7 times during October in the last 10 years. And the average return for these stocks range is from 6 to 16% in October in the last 10 years. If history is anything to go by, there's a lot of trading buyers that people could have towards these five names as well. Keep them in mind. If you are following charts or derivatives, maybe you might want to look at them from that perspective as well. Pretty strong show by these stocks in the last 9 out of the 10 times in October. And quite stunning, really. Okay, now fundamental news. Auto sales. Aisha, uh, the total sales grew about, the Royal Enfield sales grew about total sales grew about 145% to 82097 versus estimated 77,000. Exports rose 34% to 8451 units. Strong month for Aisha, both on Royal Enfield as well as on the VECV sales. Hero Motocorp, you could argue maybe disappointed a bit, but the total dispatches fell 2% to 519,980 units versus estimated 5 lakh units. And these are the consensus estimates I'm saying. Individual brokers had fairly different estimates, and I'll come to the Motilal Oswal variance set in just a moment. But this, just hear this out first. Total dispatches about 519,980, estimated of 5 lakh. Sales motorcycles fell 1.9, sales of scooters declined 2.9, exports fell over 50%. To my mind, not the best of months for Hero. Compared to what some of the others have done, certainly a bit of a disappointment. Tata Motors, total domestic sales rose 44% to 80633. The estimates were 82,800, so you would argue it's done slightly worse than anticipated, but the numbers by themselves look very stunning. Total PV sales jumped about 85%. Commercial vehicle sales not as much compared to Ashok Leyland, quite low. So this is the other one that should be in focus. Maruti Suzuki came out and said it's the second best month for the company in 42 months, and the first time ever that the 1 million sales mark was breached by the industry in a quarter. Even the first 6 months, as per Shashank Srivastava, wholesales are the best ever for the industry with sales of 19.37 lakh units. Just shows the kind of buoyancy their autos have, and particularly this month. So the fear was that the retail sales might have gotten impacted because of the Shraddh period, but the wholesales have looked okay because companies have pushed inventories to the dealers. Can this continue in October, which will have the benefit of the Dashera sales as well as the Diwali sales? Boy, it'll be really interesting to see how autos did, both wholesale and retail, in the month of October. By the way, so the Motilal Oswal verdict is pretty interesting. They lay out that the positive variance was seen in Eicher Royal Enfield, or Eicher actually even otherwise. Ashok Leyland 14%, Escorts 33% positive variance. Inline variance was in TVS because it beat estimates by about 3%, or Tata Motors, which missed estimates by about 3 odd percent, but it was largely in line because 2-3% is okay. Maruti was bang on in line with estimates. Hero Motocorp, according to Motilal Oswal, had a negative variance of 7%. So, uh, and according to the consensus estimates, I think Hero Motocorp is slightly better. So difficult to say, but therefore leave out Hero, let's say, right? And look at the positive variance seen in an Eicher, in Ashok Leyland, in Escorts, and those could be stocks that could be very, very interesting to monitor in the session today. Speaking of updates, APL Apollo Tubes had a very strong month, or very strong quarter actually. Q2 sales volume rose 41% YOY to 6 lakh units. Q2 saw the highest quarterly sales volumes for the company. And apparently, the sales will rise in the October to March period with commissioning and ramp up of the new Raipur plant. Do watch out for APL Apollo Tubes. That one could be an interesting one to focus on in the session today. Then I'll come to some other quarterly updates in a bit. First, just going by what seemed very, very important. ONGC, Oil India, RIL, multiple news flow around here in oil and gas space. So one, India has cut the windfall taxes on diesel and ATF. Various other moves done. Levy on export of diesel has been reduced. Tax of 5 liter on aviation turbine fuel has been scrapped, as exports have been scrapped as well. So ONGC, Oil India, and RIL, not only from this perspective, but also from a perspective of how gas prices have been hiked by a sharp 40%. And that's quite stunning, really. I'll tell you why. So, okay, I may not have the notes out here,, uh, for you, but I'll just read out what CLSA. CLSA, has to say for these gas companies, right? Let me just bring up that table for you. Uh, and yes, right here. So CLSA says that this hike uh, could take up the FY24 EPS for ONGC and Oil India by 18 to 27%, and the fair value equals to about 30. Their fair value equals to about 35 to 40% of the current stock prices. That's the quantum of uptick that some of these that ONGC and Oil India in particular could fundamentally see. So watch out for these, and of course you got to also watch out for the for the CGD companies, because according to CLSA, MGL and Gujarat Gas will require about a 13 to 14% price hike in CNG and PNG in order to mitigate the cost impact. This is a big thing. Now let's get to that plate, and therefore talk about that. See, purely from a stock price perspective, you've seen IGL, MGL, Gujarat Gas correct quite a bit in Friday's session. IGL has gyrated from lows of 390 to highs of 430 last week. Current price about 399. MGL gyrated from lows of 790 to highs of 880 last week. Current price about 5%, about 1 or 2% from the lows of 790. So these stocks have come off quite a bit. We might, in all probability, see a downtick in today's session as well. So I don't think, like I said in the trade setup, I don't think the CGD companies are out of the woods as yet. The point is, after today's fall, if there is a large fall, that is, are they baking in the negatives? And if they come out with price hikes, can they actually help mitigate some of the perceived losses as well? I think it'll be very interesting to see. Be mindful, be careful if you're trading the CGD companies, because they're very, very choppy and volatile. The safer trade, even on a down day, could be on the upstream companies. So keep that in mind. Some other stocks in news: CCL Products, the Andhra Pradesh facility has commenced commercial operations. Kernex Micro Consortium gets a 255 crore order. SBI Cards, the India credit card loans rose to a record in the month of August. And HPPP IOC, aside of other gas news, the September diesel sales rebounded ahead of Diwali, and that should uh, I reckon should be construed positively, save for the under recoveries, but seems like that should be good news for them. Some other stocks in news include Nika. Okay, let's stick to quarterly updates. I missed out on Nika, by the way. Consider a bonus issue, so keep that in mind. That will happen today. Quarterly updates: Catholic Sirius Bank. I was about to say Credit Suisse Bank. Excuse me for that. Catholic Syrian Bank advances grew 24% and 8% QOQ. Very, very, very strong update. Gold advances grew about 13% and YY 48%. So Catholic Syrian Bank right up there, very strong update. Federal Bank Federal Bank, very strong update too. Good update actually. Advances grew about 19.4 and 6% QOQ. So not as solid as CSB, but good one. Karur Vysya Bank, not bad. Advances grew about 16%, 4.7% QOQ. But net, each of these have grown advances and have shown some strength. So good show by these names in the session today. So in the session in the quarter. So maybe you'll see some reactions into these. NIT actually a very, very poor number. The Q2 warning given by NIT. Compression in customer spends during the quarter has been steeper than anticipated. They say the company expects a single-digit percentage decline in the CLG revenue on QOQ basis, along with impact on margins. So you suffice to say, on a bad day today, NIT will start lower. So watch out for this one. I've missed out on Coal India and NTPC because of I think April to September power demand apparently has gone up by some 15%. Coal India was ho-hum really, not too much out there, but they were sure that supplies are okay. But net from the summation that you do, uh, the gas companies, CGD as well as All India and ONGC, so that's nearly five. If you add Reliance, six. Watch out for autos, three or four names out there that could be trending. So add to that four, so that's 10 names. Then the banking updates, three of them very strong, 13 names. NIIT, very poor update, 14th name. And I've missed out on a bunch of names, I'm sure already, which I've focused on. So just a clutch of names that will react today. Pick and choose wisely. And of course, if you Believe that there is a bit of a buoyancy in the markets, but it is difficult to decipher what the global could do as well. We speak to two eminent experts today, Devina Mehra, phenomenal handle on what happens on the global side. Vikas Khemani, amazingly attuned to what's happening on the local side as well. And both of them have equal panache on the other side too. So it'll be lovely to hear from them today in a slightly longer spaces session as to what's in store for October and for the festive season. So try and tune in for this today at 9 p.m. You get to ask some of the questions to those as well. So that is to watch out for. We'll speak to Pranjal Bhandari today about the NPC meet and what's the economy having in store. So that could be the other interesting one. And yeah, lots of stocks, as I said, to focus on today. At least 14, 15 that we figured out here. And I'm sure we missed out on 4 or 5. So pick and choose carefully on a day which is likely to start off lower. Whether it stays or lower remains to be seen. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. Have a great week ahead.